Good evening, everybody. It's another episode of Chat with Mick. And my gosh, this has been months of celebrations, right? As we're getting out of the pandemic, finally, after a year and a half, we've been celebrating. So, October, we were celebrating almost every day, right? Every weekend, there was something to do. And now it's November, and my gosh, Christmas is right around the corner. And every weekend there's something happening, especially in the Filipino American community. And tonight we are celebrating life and music with no other than Mon David. So Mon David is one of the luminaries of jazz in the Philippines, and he is here with us in Southern California. And he has remained one of the most inventive and creative singers on the LA performing scene, and that is the jazz scene, of course. And he is the winner of the 2000 International Vocal Jazz Competition, and he combines authentic musicianship, stagecraft with exceptional skill at both vocal improvisation and interpretation of lyrics. And my gosh, he has performed with some of the greatest jazz musicians in the world. And some of his and he has 8 multi-awarded albums to his credit. And oh my gosh, that is so cool. And he has performed at all of the coolest venues, like all of the world-renowned venues, like the Catalina Bar and Grill, LACMA, Yoshi's, Artshare LA, the Ford Theater, and so many other venues. So let's all welcome Mr. Mon David. Hi, Mon. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm
Thank you
okay.
so much for coming to our show and allowing me to get to know you better.
Oh, thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me. It's a privilege and my honor. Salamat.
Yes, and I am so excited, and I'm sure everyone else is just as excited as I am to get to know you on a more personal basis through StreamYard. And I just wanted to acknowledge everyone who's watching. In the Philippines, we are on Kumu, so we do have regular viewers from the Philippines. And of course, we're always on Facebook and YouTube, and we are on Twitch as well. And we have a presence on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. Yeah, so we're kind of all over the world.
Nice.
Yeah, and of course Mon David. Yeah, so we were just saying that he's an internationally renowned jazz vocalist. And I just wanted to find out why jazz?
Oh,
That's a loaded question, right?
yeah, it's a loaded question. Uh, why jazz? It actually happened to me in a gradual way. I started as a pop singer, and I tried different styles and genres. And jazz would remain one of the most, for me, one of the most fulfilling in terms of the joy and the the kind of uh, the challenge as well, and the learning process that's involved in the craft. I would still consider myself a student of the music of this art form because I continue evolving. I learn from colleagues, from the musicians that I get to meet and I get to work with and collaborate with. Jazz, wow. I remember just last week I read something about people trying to define it, and one musician said it's about freedom. And medyo ano, di ba, profound kasi
Mm-hmm.
uh, and I kind of that resonates with me in many ways because it's a very free style or form of interpreting music and singing songs. You have to have that strong sense of freedom to be able to enjoy it and to be able to come up with different possibilities and create in the moment.
So what makes singing in the jazz style or in the jazz genre different from singing other types of songs?
I think the main thing is the fact that it keeps changing. You keep modifying. You put yourself in a. You're always present and in the moment. And when you're in that situation, a lot of there are a lot of possibilities that can be enjoyed. You don't have to stick to one type of interpreting songs or music. Uh, it's a very spontaneous thing, and that's why I mentioned that word a while ago. The word freedom.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very free. It's a very liberating type of form of music. Yeah.
And I noticed like so when you're singing, you don't necessarily like sing the songs exactly like how it was sung by the original singer, right? You can like
No.
make your own song out of it.
Uh-huh. Uh, it's a very the individuality in interpreting music is very strong. You have to be yourself to come up with something that you can uniquely call your own. Uh, as opposed to other styles, di ba sa pop, lalo na sa pop scenario, people are just expecting interpreters or singers to do exactly the same thing that was
Mhm.
recorded. I don't see anything wrong with that, but I think in terms of fulfillment, I feel more fulfilled when I feel I'm coming up with my own thing. When I in the process of interpreting music, I discover new things, fresh ways of interpreting emotions, fresh ways of interpreting rhythms, and so forth and so on. There are a lot of details involved in it.
So to be a jazz vocalist, do you have to go to the school of music?
Uh, it helps. Malaking tulong pa rin eh. It helps if you have the basic knowledge of music theory. If you
Hmm.
can play an instrument, that way it becomes easy to approach different arrangements. It's easy to come up with fresh ways of treating a particular piece. You know, ang laking bagay if you play an instrument like piano or guitar, or if you're a drummer,
Hmm.
it helps with your rhythmic capacity to explore and to be you can be more consistent in terms of these things, the groove, the rhythm, the harmony. uh, these are basic things that all musicians and singers have to know or should know.
Hmm. And so let's go back, way back a little bit to your childhood. Um, did you take music classes? Were you always into music when you were younger?
I would always listen to the radio, and we would always I grew up being exposed to jams in our sala, playing the guitar and harmonizing with my brothers and sisters. But it wasn't a formal. I During those times I didn't have any formal training. Later on, I realized ko I have to take music lessons. I have you know, to be able to know how to read music. So I started as a drummer, and later on, I was asked I became the Apo Hiking Society's drummer for almost a decade, and doon ako na-expose sa entertainment, to the idea of being in front, entertaining people, and coming up with your own repertoire. So at first it was vicarious. It happened
Mm-hmm.
vicariously while playing drums for the Apo. I would be entertained, and I would really enjoy their repertoire, their compositions, and then they became a huge influence in my career. They inspired me to work on my craft and keep improving. So
So, so what was the turning point? Like, ano yung point na nag-decide kayo na, oh, I want to be like, instead of being at the back of everyone else, like, I want to be in front. Like,
mm,
what made you want to decide to be a singer?
uh, it was I guess it became it was a natural course. It's something that I had to do because it gives me joy, and I was quite fulfilled, especially when I see people enjoying what I was doing, what I'm doing at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a universal, almost a universal truth among singers when you see the glow on the faces of the listeners in front of you. That's a very fulfilling thing, and it keeps you going. It will keep you working on your, gives you that inner push and the desire to work on your craft and keep improving and evolving as a, not only as a singer but also as a musician on the whole, as a whole. And I think that flows also into the idea of being, naniniwala kasi ako if you live your life the way you want to live it, these things go along with that
Mm-hmm.
uh, objective, right? You become a, if to become a good musician, you have to be a, a good human being, a good person. You have to take care of the basic things in life, and things that involve the people uh, uh, in the family, your circle of friends. I think konektado lahat yon eh.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I keep telling our friends and our colleagues that I'm I continue learning. I'm not a master. I'm a student. I'm still learning from musicians that I collaborate with and singers that I perform with.
And so when you were a drummer for Apple, that was a time when there was a resurgence in Filipino music, right? Everyone's trying to promote original Filipino music, OPM. It was really popular, right?
Uh-huh.
Like especially in like 70s and 80s. There was like this collective effort to make OPM a thing because it wasn't in the early 70s, right? And
Mhm.
what made you were sort of like going against the grain, so to speak, right? Like choosing jazz as your choice of genre, right?
Mhm.
And
I think
I mean, were there any like challenges with that? Like, did you find like your own audience, or like
oh
like a piece of the pie, so to speak?
the challenges will always be there. I would always use the word struggle. As a musician, as a jazz artist, there will always be that struggle that you will find yourself in because it's not a popular
Mhm.
genre. That's reality. It's the it's siguro pinakahuli in jazz in terms of popularity. So if we're talking about the different music genres and styles, pop is is up there because it's pop. That's why it's called popular, right? It's easy to absorb. It's easy to enjoy. Uh, in with this craft, with this genre, you really have to love it. You really have to live it, and you really have to continue learning it and appreciating it. Hindi siya pwedeng, hindi lang siya, it will never be considered like a background or piping music.
Mhm.
Otherwise, mawawala yung essence niya. And I think its essence is the quality, the spontaneity, the improvisational aspect, being in the moment, which cannot be repeated, which cannot
Yes.
be, yeah, it cannot. you can't sing something the same way twice. Sabi nga
Yeah,
nila.
and a lot of times, when we're watching jazz, like you never know where the musician or the singer is
Uh-huh.
going. They
Uh-huh.
can take you to so many other places. Like you just
Uh-huh.
never know. Like, like what I was saying earlier. Like, if you're covering a song, that someone else, like so many other people have performed, like it
Mhm.
can go so many different ways,
Uh-huh. Mhm.
and you just never know. So it's always a surprise. It's
And
always,
that's
yeah,
yeah.
it's
And that's
always
the
exciting.
yeah, that's the exciting part, and that's what makes it special. I think
Yeah.
what makes it special and unique. You know,
So were there other people? I mean, were there mentors, or did you look up to someone as you were like trying to make your way into the jazz world?
there's a lot. There's the list is very long. It's really very long. Up to now, I keep discovering individuals and artists that inspire me. Uh, but I started listening to the first to the almost what you call the standard singers, the classic performers from the era of where Frank Sinatra, Tony Bennett, Nat King Cole, Johnny Mathis, all those people started, and then later on dumating yung sila Al Jarreau, sila George Benson, Mark
Mm-hmm.
Murphy, Kurt Elling, recently Gregory Porter and Kurt. These there are many inspiring influences available. Lalo na ngayon sa internet at sa YouTube, di ba? It's so easy to expand and make your own research. But I think the main, sabi nga nila, at the end of the day, you have to look for your search and find your own voice, find your own style. So I always remind some of my students, those who would consult me, it's good to have many influences and inspirations, but in the end, you have to find your own thing. You have to find your own voice and sound and ID. And I think it's something that can be worked on, something that can be achieved. As long as you're patient and as long as you keep listening and studying and evolving and keeping
Mm-hmm.
your mind open about things. I think the the word listen or listening is a very it's a very valuable, important word in this genre.
Mm-hmm. And that's right, because when you're exploring, you discover so many things, and that's the joy of, like, appreciating music. You discover so many different kinds, and like you find what you like, and
Uh-huh.
you stick to them. And you know and I became acquainted with you like through TV when I was in the Philippines. And
Uh,
at that point, I think you were at the pinnacle of your career. I mean,
oh,
so what made you move to the US?
I think it's the basic. It's an innate desire to explore and expand, and the United States is a very wide. It has a wide for it's fertile ground in terms of the arts, music, particularly jazz.
Mm-hmm.
We all know that it's an African American art form, right? It started from the blues, and then now it has expanded into almost an we can consider it an international art form already because of the many contributions and input of people and artists from different parts of the world. And I think people should welcome that. It has become uh, like a global thing. Siguro kung pwede natin tawaging global jazz, baka pwedeng pumunta tayo sa direction na yon, di ba?
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yes.
mhm.
And it has become more fusion, right? There are a lot of people combining like indigenous instruments
Uh-huh, uh-huh,
with jazz styles,
mhm.
right? And so I have a question, like $1 million question, just to break it up a bit. So smooth or straight up?
I think I'm
It's
leaning
another
towards,
loaded question, but
yeah, but I think I'm leaning more towards the straight ahead type. But I'm quite open about these things. I like I said a while ago. I continue exploring and learning. There are a lot of possibilities, and just the mere fact of being able to inject a little bit of our language. Sometimes I would
Mhm.
inject Tagalog or Filipino words or Kapampangan because I'm from Pampanga, and whenever I would have an opportunity, I would inject those little,
Is
little,
it through scatting?
yeah, through scanning and from, and
Yes.
sometimes it becomes really fun, and it becomes interesting and exciting. People listen, people can appreciate these things because you know, sa looks ko lang, alam nila na, oh, he's from somewhere. He must, this guy must be from Southeast Asia and so
Mhm.
I take advantage of that aspect of my live performances. Sometimes I would inject balut, I would inject pipit or kapampangan traditional melodies and phrases, and it becomes interesting.
That is
Uh,
so cool. That's something
yeah.
that we should look out for,
Mhm.
right? That is so awesome. And so, um, Arvin here, who's in our audience, has a question for you. What's your favorite Filipino food?
Oh, of course, andyan yung adobo. Hindi nawawala adobo. And I love kare-kare. Kare-kare, adobo, and dito sa aming bahay, regular na ang sinigang, di nawawala ang sinigang at bulalo, those kinds of.
Mm-hmm. And do you cook also?
Yeah, a little bit. I'm trying to. My wife Anne has been coaching me. I've been learning a lot from her, especially during the pandemic
Mm-hmm.
period. Walang choice kundi matuto, di ba? Because we have
Yeah.
time.
So during the pandemic, what did you discover about yourself?
I think it's funny. Some people might say it would be insensitive, a bit insensitive, but I'm grateful to the fact that I have become reflective. I think that's a big word, being
Mm-hmm.
reflective, and those reflections about life as a whole, about our existence. And then, tinitingnan ko yung paligid, tinitingnan ko yung stuff, you realize, wow, we've gathered a lot of stuff that's unnecessary, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of stuff andyan, pero wala naman talagang use. And then you start really putting value sa mga bagay na that's really, relationships, friends and family. And I'm grateful for that. And yung quality time with loved ones and friends. That's
Mm-hmm.
priceless yun eh, diba? You
Yeah.
realize,
So family and friends and quality time with the people you love, or the like some
uh,
of the things you don't want to do away with. Are there anything? Is there anything that you want to do away with? Like, is there anything that you can live without?
you anything that I can live without, I can't live.
Yeah, yeah. Because you were saying, there are a lot of things like that we don't really need, right? There are a lot of things that are
Oh,
unnecessary.
oh, mostly material things. Mostly material things. It's, kumbaga, dali natin sa pinaka-basic stuff na lang, yung damit-damit. I realize kung may pagtingin ko sa kwarto ko, kung, kung merong mga, let's say, 30 pieces doon, 30 shirts, ang talagang nagagamit ko lang doon, siguro tatlo lang, ganon. So, I've started, throwing away things or donating some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But the things that I really value are my music materials, CDs, albums, those things, and charts, and my guitar, and But other than that, parang secondary na lahat sa akin yun. And
So you also play the guitar?
yeah, I would sometimes I would inject a segment in my repertoire where I get to play the guitar and just sing, and because it's for me it's one of the most, it can be one of the most intimate things in music
Mm-hmm.
making, when you're able to accompany yourself and you just follow your rhythm and your groove. Of course, ibang natural high when you're playing with other musicians. Iba naman yun, di ba? That's
Yeah.
fulfilling thing. But from the drums, I shifted to guitar because I really enjoy those moments when I can be all by myself and come up with the whole repertoire. In fact, I came up with an album, and I decided to call it Solomon because it's just guitar and my voice.
Is there a double meaning behind Solomon?
Well,
Aside
well,
from you yourself, Mon, and being solo?
oh, it started with that. Later on, some friends were asking me the same question, and I keep reminding them that I'm not in that stature or league. I'm just the idea of I really value quiet moments because
Mm-hmm.
I feel you're really creative when you can enjoy those quiet moments, di ba? Ito nga yung album na yun, tinawag kong Solomon.
That is so cool. And I heard you have another album too. It's called DNA.
Yes, that's my latest, and it's one of my, what you might call, passion projects. I've always wanted to do a duo with a great pianist, and so I approached Josh Nelson. I have admired his artistry for many years now, and he liked the idea, and we had a lot of fun. We had a great time in the studio. We were able to record 12 songs, 12 tracks, uh, and I'm happy. We were both very fulfilled because most of them were take one, take two. I said we really wanted to preserve that, that
Mm.
being in the moment aspect of making music. So,
Yes, like
and
the rawness and spontaneity
yeah,
of the session itself. That is so awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, and who are your favorite jazz singers or jazz musicians? Like your top three.
I would,
Are there
I
any?
would, I would consider Mark Murphy uh, at the top of the list. Mark Murphy is a great inspiration, major inspiration. Very courageous in his ways, and he he he's a true artist. He really is a very honest and courageous musician, and he's willing to take risks always, and that's very inspiring. Uh, the other one is still very active, very much in demand. Kurt Elling, uh, Gregory Porter is
Mm-hmm.
another great inspiration.
That is so cool. And so we were talking about living life to the fullest and like doing what you love, and as you do the things that you love, all these things that like come to you, right? All the good things that you can think of come to you. And so we're celebrating your life in a few days, right?
That's
Don't
big.
worry, I'm not going to ask you how old you are.
I'm 68. I'm proud of it. I'm turning 68.
That is so cool. You were 20 when I was born. Yeah.
And I feel
Um,
and I feel I'm just beginning. And I feel I'm just starting. That's the funny thing.
so
Really,
68 is
that's how
the 68 is the new 28.
I.
and and so you'll be celebrating with some friends on Thursday, right? In a show at
Yeah,
the Catalina Bar and Grill. And so what
Uh,
can we expect in that show?
I decided to call the event, the program, aside from celebrating my birthday and Thanksgiving. I decided to call it Homebound because that's where I started my career here in the U.S. at Catalina Jazz Bar in 2007, if I remember
Oh
right.
wow.
Yes, 2007. Right after what happened in London, we flew in and then we started our lives here as a family. And that's where I started as a musician, as a jazz singer here in LA at Catalina Jazz Club. And that's why I want to reminisce on those moments and acknowledge all the people who've inspired me, who've helped me. Uh, the ones who've been listening and who've been very supportive. Uh, and niregalohan ko sarili ko. I invited Larry Combs to join me. It's like a birthday gift to me, a personal birthday gift ko sa sarili ko. Tateng, I've always played with Tateng. In fact, I've recorded with Tateng already here. With Abe, I'm excited that Abe can join me because I learned from Abe that he's also planning on starting there's this new phase in his life in Hawaii by next year. So
Oh,
I'm grabbing the opportunity while he's still
thank you for
available.
telling me. Thank
Yeah.
you for telling me you should have him on a show. Yeah, he's been on our show too. Yes, and yeah, and all of those people were all super fan girls.
Mm.
I'm like a super fan girl of everyone in your show.
Oh,
And and yeah, oh my gosh. So that's going to be one exciting show. And it's like a homecoming, right? Because this is the first time you're
yes.
performing like after the pandemic.
Yeah, after 16 months. And what makes it even more special and exciting is the fact that Nicole and Carlo are joining me for in some numbers, and I'm really thrilled and excited about that because as a parent, isang pinaka ano yon, joyful moment talaga yon when you witness those moments,
Mm-hmm.
your kids, your children creating music, enjoying it. Yun ang pinakamahalaga. They're having
So
fun while doing it. So
did
I'm looking
Carlo
forward.
and Nicole pick it up by themselves? Like the love of music and performing?
I think it became it was almost a natural thing for them, because they've been surrounded by they've been listening to music. They would see me rehearse. Sometimes Nicole would be there during rehearsals, and sometimes Carlo would join me when I go out of town and do my gigs back in the Philippines. So na-expose sila sa ganun eh. But hindi ko naman sila talaga tinutukan at tinuruan ko. I
Yeah,
think
they're like forced. I'm just kidding. Yeah. And so that is so awesome. Yeah, so we're all excited. So for those of you who are watching out there, don't forget Mon David is going to be at the Catalina Bar and Grill on Thursday. That's November 11. And what time does it start? 7 o'clock?
it starts
At
at 8:30,
8:30. 8:30.
but doors will be open at 7 or 7:30 for those who planning to have dinner there. The food is great at Catalina Jazz Club, and
Yes.
the acoustics, the sounds, they're great. They will enjoy it
And
surely.
so yeah, that will be my first time at the
Oh,
Catalina.
really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Jazz
wow.
Club. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, that's why I'm really, really excited. Like I've heard so
Okay.
many good things about it and so many, like awesome performers. Like all my favorites have performed there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. And Mon has also performed at Yoshi. So that's another place that's like same level, as a
Mm-hmm.
Catalina Bar and Grill. Like Yoshi's in Oakland, right?
Oh,
Or San
yeah.
Francisco.
And I also Oakland and San Francisco. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I know that the Yoshi's is it
In
Fremont Street
like
or
the
the original is not
I
in
think
operation right now, right? But the one
yeah.
in Oakland is still.
Yes,
Still
yes. The
there.
one in San Francisco is no longer operating. Yeah, but the one in Oakland at the Jack London Square is operating. Yeah.
Here in LA, it's just too sad that we lost Blue Whale. I'm sure you've heard of about the Blue Whale. I had the opportunity of performing there a couple of times or three times maybe many years ago. Beautiful, beautiful space, wonderful jazz venue. But I know there'll be more. There'll be other venues that will be opening up soon. Things are
So
starting to open up. So
yes.
it's
And
a,
so you've had a lot of memorable experiences throughout your very, very, very long career in music. What's the most memorable experience that you've had?
okay. It's always fulfilling and inspiring to be able to play with people you admire, musicians you admire. You used to see their names in album credits, and then you find yourself in a situation where you get to play with them. I don't have to name names, but the idea of uh, idolizing or being influenced by a certain individual or a certain artist, and then comes that rare special opportunity that you're able to play with them.
Mm-hmm.
That's fulfilling. It's quite fulfilling. But I can name some situations, some moments that I'll never forget. uh, and this has nothing to do with jazz in general. This is a moment where you get to connect with a person. She passed on already, but I was invited to to sing for her, and it became like a one-on-one thing in her sala. I'll never forget those moments. I didn't realize I sang 15 to 16 songs with just my guitar, and I'll never forget, the tears flowing on her face, but at the same time the joy that she was expressing while I was singing. Those are moments that I'll never forget.
Mm-hmm. It's
Um,
the impact that you make on an individual and the emotional connection that you have with people,
it's
right?
a human connection, I think.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing. This this art form, this genre has nothing to do with being popular. It's nothing to do with. It's not about earning or making money. It's not about being popular. It's all about loving it, enjoying it, and then being fulfilled, knowing that in some ways you're able to touch or move people in a very positive way.
Mm-hmm.
Give them a little bit of a sense of hope and beautiful reminiscence about life. So I'm all for that, and that's why I keep sharing and telling our friends that I'm just I'm still beginning. I'm
Mm-hmm. And in your opinion, how can jazz musicians or jazz enthusiasts share the love of jazz to more people so that, more people will find out what jazz is all about?
well. For me, two of the prerequisites are just being honest and sincere with what you're doing, whatever your instrument is, whether it's the human voice or a guitar or a piano. If you're able to express your yourself and your heart and your soul through it, through your instrument, and keep improving and keep working on your craft, uh, I really believe that it cannot be ignored. They may not be thousands and millions or hundreds of thousands. It doesn't matter. When you're connecting with a few heads, a few listeners, I think that's what matters most.
Mm-hmm.
Your honesty and sincerity will come across, and they will feel that.
And well, people like you have connected to people like us at Mick Diaz Presents, and we will always support you and everyone in the Filipino American jazz community, because we watch them and we've made friends with them and we've seen and heard their music, and so we're like I'm a super fan girl. But yeah, so everybody, don't forget on Thursday, Mon David is celebrating his birthday with a jazz concert at the Catalina Bar and Grill. It's on Sunset Boulevard in West Hollywood, and it starts at 8:30 p.m. And he has Larry Coons, Abe Lagrimas, there's Tating Katindig, and of course Mr. Mon David himself.
And Edwin Livingston is playing
And
bass.
Edwin Livingston, oh my gosh, like he is such a great bass player.
Yes.
That is
Thank
so
you.
awesome. Thank you so much, Mon, for being on our show.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you.
And just a reminder to everybody, speaking of jazz, we have some jazz singers and crooners coming to LA on Sunday. That's oh my gosh, I forgot the date. That's November 14th. On Sunday at the Noi Pits. Oh my
Can
God.
I add one more thing?
Yes.
I'll be in Temecula at the Merc, a beautiful listening space jazz venue. It's called the Merc in Temecula. I'll be with Josh Nelson, and we'll be presenting the DNA repertoire there, our duo project. Aside from the December, aside from the Merry and Bright December 5 at the Aratani Theater with Miss Louis Reyes and Miguel Vera and Annie Nepomuceno.
Yeah, so that's December 5. That's another show to look out for at the Aratani Theater in Little Tokyo. That show starts at it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, right? And then after that, there's an after party. How exciting!
I know that we'll be doing two sets of shows.
Oh wow, that is so cool. Yes, and so there's so many things to look forward to, especially in the Filipino American community now that we're getting out of the pandemic. There's so much stuff out there, and we have to grab it while we can, right?
And please continue supporting the Filipino American artists, Filipino artists, all musicians, all artists. If you, whenever you have the opportunity, please continue, go out and experience live shows, and that will keep us moving forward, of course, with your support.
Yes. And that's how we keep the momentum going, right? Like if we keep on supporting each other, yeah. So thank you so much, Mon David, and everybody out there who's watching, and also our Kumu viewers. Thank you so much for watching Mick Diaz Presents. Every time we are on, thank you so much, and to everyone in Kumu and Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube. Thank you so much, and have a great rest of your Tuesday night. And everybody keep warm because it's getting colder out there. And yes, and have a great rest of the week. And we'll see you on Thursday at the Catalina Bar and Grill, 8:30. Don't forget, and you can eat dinner over there. So come early, eat your dinner, watch a great show from Mon David.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody. Good night, Mon. Thank you so much for being on our show.
Thank you. God bless you all. Thank you.